Salutations! My name is CSW and this is CSW TV. If there was one class for those who just want to play freestyle, if there was one class for people who just hate combos, then Wu-tang is that class. For that very reason, this video won't really talk too much about combos like my other videos, because Wu-tangs are designed for comboless gameplay. So with that in mind, let me begin by saying that Wu-tangs have three different playstyle that feels entirely different. Martial Slash, Tai Chi Sword, and Mixed, or better known as Set 2, Set 3, and Mixed Set. Now, as the name implies, the Martial Slash playstyle uses any and all skills from the Martial Slash stance that you learn at level 20, while the Tai Chi Sword stance uses all skills from the Tai Chi Sword stance that you learn at level 40. And it is no surprise that the Mixed playstyle uses a combination of skills from both Martial Slash and Tai Chi Sword. However, if you have paid attention to my video on other classes, it may come as a surprise to you that Mixed Set is actually the least common playstyle. Think about it, every class I've talked about so far uses skills learned from both level 20 and level 40. So how is it that Wu-tangs have playstyles that does not do so? At first glance, it may seem that the fact that Wu-tangs have to drop down their sword before using level 40 skills would be the main reason. However, that is not quite so. It is known as stance switching and every class do it, although a bit more subtly than Wu-tang. The main reason is that because the comboless nature of Wu-tangs. While most classes stance switch in the middle of their combos where they are safe and won't be attacked, Wu-tangs are forced to do it constantly when they are in danger. It is for that reason why the Set 2 and Set 3 playstyle is more popular amongst other players, and that's the style that we'll start by talking about. If you were to say that Set 2 and Set 3 are two sides of the same coin, you would be absolutely correct. At first glance, Set 2 is an entirely melee offensive playstyle, while Set 3 is an entirely ranged defensive playstyle. However, they both converge on the same goal, which is to deny your opponent the chance to actually fight back. In Set 2, you have the skills Elemental, Vertical Hacked, and Chi of Tao, which all have the ability of dazing your opponent. This means that your opponent will be constantly blocking or dodging to avoid getting themselves dazed. Even though getting dazed isn't much of a threat by itself because Wu-tangs have minimal combo abilities, the frequency of these skills mean that your opponent can't get themselves hit too often or they won't actually be able to do anything back to you. Additionally, you have two disable skills, Implosion and Billow Surge. These two skills will further lengthen the duration where your opponent cannot attack you, as these skills will disable your opponent upon hit. Billow Surge also has the additional perk of instantly rendering you airborne, as well as a block break to make it unblockable. Finally, Dragon Blow is a counterattack that you can use, just in case your opponent does get the opportunity to hit you. The other two skills, Freezing Blast and Maelstrom, are mostly for damage. Freezing Blast does a soft launch to your opponent, and if people recover out of it, it would end up wasting stamina. Maelstrom does huge amounts of damage over time, so it's in your opponent's best interest to recover out of it, again consuming stamina. As you can see, from your opponent's point of view, playing against the Set 2 Wu-tang requires quite a bit of good stamina management. All of your skills require your opponent to either block or dodge out of it. While no skill is threatening on its own, they won't do much if your opponent keeps getting hit, and little by little their HP will be drained. On the other hand, should they be careless with their stamina, then they will have no choice but to get hit. It is truly a dilemma. Now, in Set 3, you don't have nearly as many dazes or disables, so you will have to be a bit more clever with your skill usage. First up, we have Blunt Meteor, which is your acupuncture in this set. It's a ranged acupuncture, which by itself is great and all, but more importantly, you can aim where you want it to land without giving any sort of indication as to where you chose to land it. With most other classes, if you want to attack someone from behind, you must first move behind them, and this gives the opponent a chance to react. However, as a Wu-tang, you can land your acupuncture either behind, in front, or to the side of your opponent, and you will remain in the same position. And this is the main advantage that Set 3 has. Additionally, Singularity is a daze that can affect anyone inside or near the sword field you lay down, so this gives you a huge area where people have to be cautious when they're trying to cross. Set 3 Wu-tang kind of have a bit of a combo. When your opponent is dazed or acupunctured, the sword field will be right on top of them. Bladefall is the skill that will knock prone flaw exposed targets inside your sword field, and it gives decent damage onto your opponent. Afterwards, you can follow that up with any skill you want. Swordfight could be a good choice here. Its primary purpose is for ranged chit damage, but it also has some good utility versus airborne targets as well. Handbash dazes your opponent, while Concussion disables and dazes your opponent. However, these two skills are slow and short-ranged, and not nearly as good as their set 2 counterpart. You also have a grab here, which could quite possibly be the slowest grab in the game. In fact, it's so slow that your opponent can actually end up wasting stamina by recovering and then getting grabbed again. It's usually used after Bladefall, as using it during any other occasion could be quite dangerous if you're not prepared to deal with it. Now here's where the creativity comes in. We know that Bulldoze can teleport and do damage, as can Bladefall and Concussion. However, you may also notice that they do not require a target to cast. This means that instead of using them for only damage, you can also use them as if they were extra dashes. So if you have no stamina or dashes on cooldown, you can use any of those 3 skills and get out of the way. And so, one cannot simply dash towards a set 3 Wu-tang to catch them. Most classes have 1 dash, while set 3 Wu-tang effectively have 4. And should they try, Blunt Meteor and Singularity can easily take advantage of someone who is too focused on catching their opponent. So even though you aren't going to be threatening your opponent as much as set 2 could, your opponent won't be able to threaten you either, and they will have a hard time catching you. Thus, for someone playing a set 2 or a set 3 Wu-tang, the question isn't whether or not you have the damage to kill your opponent right off the bat, or whether or not you can get your opponent into a combo. Rather, the question is whether or not you can defeat your opponent in a game of stamina management. Finally, we have the mix set. However, unlike the other 2 classes where there is a set of skills that everyone would use, most Wu-tangs generally do not choose the same skills for mix set. So I can't really talk about this style, because it's mostly personal preference when it comes to mix set. Your playstyle is dependent on whether you lean more towards set 2 or more towards set 3. Personally, I choose Bladefall, Elemental, Swordflight, Singularity, Blunt Meteor, Maelstrom, Implosion, and Vertical Hacked, because I would say that these skills are the best of both worlds. They allow me the most flexibility as I can choose to either play defensively or offensively and adapt on the fly. So unfortunately, that's all I can really say about this class when it comes to combos and skill choices. There's a lot of room to add your personal touch to this class. For example, you can opt to use a self-heal instead of more damage. But whether that's a good or bad thing, I'll have to leave it up to you to decide. So there's also a few concepts that I haven't talked about yet, and please remember them for now, and I will elaborate further in the videos to come. Next time, I will be talking about MAs. So if you like this video, then be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.